Hey everybody, welcome back to Darvanalee Design Studio. For those that don't know, my name's Nicole Reed and today we are here for a Stitch with Me. We're working on Snow Village, so let's get started. Good evening everybody and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for taking some time out of your day and spending it with me while I get a little bit more stitching done on Snow Village. We are currently working on the center block. I do not have very much to go. I have a couple of snowflakes up the top here and just the hat of the snowman. I'm not doing the French knots today because I can't do them on camera. I bump the camera all the time, so I'll do them off screen. So that is pretty much it for this one, and so we will be moving on to the next one, which is the what's this one called? This is the Snow Boutique. And yeah, so that's what that one's going to look like. So we'll be moving on to that, and we will as always start along the top here. All right, so let's get some stitches in, shall we? Alright, so as you can see, I have been mapping out a little bit and whatnot, so I'm going to finish off doing the hat, and I've got a little bit of red here that I've got to do as well, and then I've just got these 3 snowflakes, and then we'll be moving on over to our next one. So yeah, I've made some good progress on it this week. I think having the two Stitch with Me's each week is going to move this along really quickly. I'm not going to keep you too long today as I have quite a busy day ahead of me. So I will just get some stitches into this, and hopefully you've got a cuppa and you've got your Snow Village out and you're getting some stitches in, or on a project of your choice. The French knots, I'll end up coming back, and as I said, I'll come back and do those because the simple fact is it's a little bit hard to do them on camera with the camera sitting over the top, and I tend to bump the camera more often than not. So I figured you don't need to feel a little bit sick today. But I am making good progress on this one. I'm happy that I have managed to get to the next one by the end of May. It's been a little bit slow going of late, but I am slowly but surely getting into this and getting a little bit further along with it. My plan was to actually stitch on it every morning, but I just haven't done that for some reason. As soon as I make a plan, it just seems to go out the window. But as I said, we are making progress, and that's all that matters, right? And get rid of that knot now, and I'm just going to bring this down here because I will leave that there because, as I said, I've got to do some back stitch. I'll bury this thread and then I will separate the threads because I only need one thread for that, but I'll have it down there for now, and I can just keep moving on. This little hat's so cute. So if you are a new viewer, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon beside it, and then that way you're not going to miss out on any future whip and chats. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for being here. And I've had quite a number of new subscribers of late, so welcome to all of you as well. I appreciate you being here. Okay, that's another one that I will sort out later. So yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy your time here. We've got lots of different things that we do here. We do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I am a multi-craft channel for those that are new here. I may do bags, all that sort of stuff, and of course we do have our Patreon channel as well, where we have things like block of the month, bag of the month. We also have a tier where you can get everything that's available on Patreon, as well as our magazine, and along with, you know, block of the months, sales, all that sort of stuff. We haven't started a sale yet, but there'll be some coming very soon. we have lots of different things happening over there, but our top tier is you can actually get a project bag each month handmade by me and sent out to you. It has a sweet treat, something to drink, a small gift, and of course you've got a project bag which is 15 by 12 inches, and that is all lovingly made by me and sent out to you. And yeah, you get that each month. It goes out on the 25th of each month. So if you sign up by the 20th, say of June, you will get June's bag. If you signed up by the 20th of May, you will get May's bag. Anything after that, you will go into the following. So if you just sign up on the 21st of June, then you won't get a bag until the July bag. It's just because I can't make them as quick as that. But if that changes, I will definitely let you know. Super excited to be moving on to a new block. As I said, this Stitch with Me twice a week is definitely helping with that, but I am not going to play thread tricking with this one. I think I will just park that up over here and I will sort that out a bit later. Okay, so I like to park my threads and sort them out later. I've got a couple of videos on how to finish without flipping your work and all that sort of stuff, but that takes a little bit extra time, so I just like to not stress so much about that and just park those threads and then I'll finish them up at another time. So yeah, that's sort of why I do that. So that's why you see all these threads hanging out everywhere, but if you've been here for a while, you already know that. So as I was saying, I am super excited to be moving on to the next block. As you can see, we've only got a few, like I've mapped out the snowflakes and whatnot, and I'm pretty sure this is the last one I've got to do. I've mapped them all out, and yeah, so basically we're moving on to the next block very shortly. So not a great deal has been happening this week. I have just been making project bags to get sent out for the Patreon. I have I've just been trying to organise what projects I want to work on and put up for the vote. So I will be finalising that today, and that will go up for the vote into the Patreon group. I know that I seem to be mentioning the Patreon group quite a bit. It's very new, and I'm super excited about it, and I want to share everything with you guys. So basically that's what's sort of happening. So my structure is, which I discussed in Monday's video, my structure at the studio has changed a little bit to fit everything in, and I'm still trying to find my feet on that. Like some weeks I've got down for a behind the scenes video for the $8.50 tier, along with the Down the Rabbit Hole magazine, and there's also a discount for that one as well. But I haven't really gone anywhere or done anything in the last couple of weeks, so it's just been a little bit of stuff that's been happening in the studio. So the videos have been a little bit shorter, because normally if we go out, that pushes them up a little bit, but people I've had a good response from it. I've had a couple of emails saying how much they enjoy it. I'm still new to vlogging, and I sometimes forget to put the camera on. Like I just get in the zone and I forget to put the camera on and take some B-roll, as they call it, and I just forget to do that. So but yeah, for the most part I am getting better at it, and I'm making a considerable effort to put the camera on, and Nerily is getting a little bit better at having it on when she's around. Savannah's okay with it these days. She realises it's for work and all that sort of stuff. So for the most part she's okay with that. She doesn't care. She knows that nothing's going to come of it or anything like that. Nerily, however, had a pretty bad experience with the internet and live streaming and being on camera. Excuse me. And that's from my husband's channel.
nothing happened to her directly. It just made her feel uncomfortable, and I can understand that because it would have made me uncomfortable, and it made my husband uncomfortable as well, and subsequently made those subscribers feel a little bit uncomfortable as well. So a lot of his subscribers really barked up in the comments, just going, oi, whoever put that comment there, you need to just bugger off. And that was when, remember when we done that trip to Uluru, or Ayers Rock as some of you may know it. That was in 2019, I think it was. Yes, it was. It was 2019 that, or maybe it was 2018. I can't remember now, but it was back then, and we went and we did Uluru in 8 days. So we travelled by car, and we filmed that for my husband's channel because we got a car out of a paddock, and basically we decided that we were going to drive to Uluru, and we decided to make it a challenge, and we did Uluru we were supposed to do 8,000 Ks in, 7,000 Ks in 8 days, in 7 days, and it turned out to be 7,000 Ks in 8 days because we got rerouted and whatnot. So you can see just in the video right here, before I continue on with the story, I am setting up to get ready to go into the other block. Now, this might seem a little bit disjointed and all the rest of it, because the simple fact is that I am doing a voiceover because my audio got corrupted. But anyway, back to the story. And we were doing live streams at wherever we could get service when we stopped for the night. Generally, we had Wi-Fi and stuff like that at places that we were stopping, and we were able to get Wi-Fi, and therefore we could do live streaming. And Neroli, and like we had young Mia with us then. She was only, I think she was only 3 at that stage, 2 or 3. She was only little. And basically, we were just having a great time, spending time with the family. Nothing like bringing the family together, piling them all into a Commodore, and driving to Uluru. Now, the reason that we went into that Commodore is my husband found it. Well, he didn't find it. It was sold to him. It was in a paddock. It was all dented. The roof was kicked in. Like, it was just dented, and like structurally there was nothing wrong with it except for some panels were dented. So they pushed all the paneling out and they fixed it all up. It took them a couple of months to do that. In the meantime, I had heard that they were shutting down Uluru, and I wanted to go and see it and all the rest of it before they closed it down, because I didn't know what that meant at the time, whether you were still going to be able to go and touch the rock or be near the rock or anything like that. Now, I know it's a very sacred space for the Aboriginals. I totally understand why they wanted to close it down and all that sort of stuff. And so I didn't really know what that meant. And on a whim, I said to my husband, you know what? I want to go to Uluru. He goes, yeah, all right, we'll drive there. And I'm like, okay. And then he rings me back about an hour. He goes, you do realise it's like 7,000 Ks? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, and I said, look, I'll map it out. And I looked at the map, and we could do a full circle. So we went south, and then we went like down into New South Wales, out to Broken Hill, down into South Australia, up to Coober Pedy, and then up into the Northern Territory, and then to Ayers Rock, and then we went up further into the Northern Territory, then cut across at Camoowill. We wanted to cut across another way, but the road wasn't accessible, and so basically we then had to go further up and then come over at Camoowill, and then come down through Mount Isa and all those places, and Winton and whatnot, through Queensland. So everything was going fine with the filming and the editing and all that sort of stuff. We were getting them up. Brendan was spending time at night. I was really tired, and wrangling Neroli and making sure the kids were all like, just mothering and making sure that everybody was happy and it wasn't going to turn into an atomic meltdown in the car and all the rest of it. Because, like, really sticking 3 kids in a 3-seater, not even a van, just a normal sedan car, and yeah, there were some funny moments. Like, we had a great time, and there were some funny moments and stuff like that. In the car, we become closer as a family and all that sort of stuff, because, you know, we were all busy. We've always been a busy family. Excuse me. And so sometimes we're like ships passing in the night and all the rest of it. And it doesn't mean that we're not close and we wouldn't, you know, and all that sort of stuff. But that was a great way to bring us closer as well. And the thing is, this is what my husband and I used to do when we were younger, because it was very expensive for a family. It still is expensive for a family. But back then, when we were kids, you know, a lot of mums didn't work. So a lot of households were single income households. At the time, petrol was relatively cheap. And we used to do driving holidays. Now, my dad used to always do driving holidays. We drove everywhere. We never caught trains. We never caught buses. The only time I caught a bus was when I had to come up to Queensland once, and Dad couldn't drive me. And so they put me on a bus up to Queensland. So, and that was fun. That was about the only time. And other than that, we always drove everywhere. And Brendan came from a car family, so his dad was right into cars and showing cars and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, so basically whenever he went on holidays, it was always in the back seat. There was only 2 in his family. There was 3 in my family. So we were pretty much recreating something that my family would do, because there was 3 kids in the back and the parents in the front, and and off we'd go for our holiday. Granted, we didn't spend a lot of time in the car in my family. We used to just drive to our destination as quick as possible. You know, like, I think back to my dad driving and just driving straight through to, you know, to Ballina to see my grandmother from Sydney, or from southern Sydney, and or even the Southern Highlands. We did that trip a couple of times. And he'd start driving at night and just drive through, like, and we wouldn't stop except for toilet breaks. But a lot of time we wouldn't stop because Mum would be asleep, I'd be asleep. And even some of the risks that we, like, took back then, you know, my mum realised that, you know, we needed to lay down and we needed to sleep and stuff like that. And how I managed to make it to adulthood and all the rest. We never had an accident or anything like that, but my mum used to put the blankets, because the kids were 5 and 7 years younger than me, so I was a lot older when we done a lot of these trips. I was, you know, 8, 10, you know, into my teens. And basically Mum would put blankets on the floor and build it up so it was level with the back seat. So and I was only short, and I'm still only short. So I'd sit in the middle, and my legs would just sort of sit on there, and I'd sit there cross-legged or whatever, doing, you know, reading and all that sort of stuff. But at night, if we left at night, I would sleep on that so I could stretch out, and then the 2 little ones would be up on the, you know, toe to toe. So Michael's head would be near the door, and Donna's head would be near the door, and then their feet would be in the middle. And yeah, so I got plenty of kicks, don't you worry, because those 2 used to move around a lot. But yeah, that's how we traveled. Like, super dangerous. Like, thinking about it now, just like super, super dangerous. And you know, we wouldn't have seatbelts on, obviously, and yeah, it was just really, really dangerous. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. My kids did not have that option at all. They were in their seatbelts, and Mia was in her car seat. So we had Mia in the middle, because that meant that the 2 big ones weren't squashed up together, and they had a little bit of room, and it kept Mia entertained, because she could see straight out as we were driving and stuff like that, because she loves to drive. But yeah, so Neroli doesn't like being on camera. Back then she wasn't so bad about it and all the rest of it, until we had a couple of incidences on YouTube where she was there with Brendan. Like, it wasn't as if she was on the video by herself, and it was a live stream, and basically there was some really crass comments from grown men saying this to my then 10-year-old daughter, 11-year-old daughter. So she might have even been 12. I think she was 12. Was she in high school? Yes, I think she was in high school. She just started high school. It was her first year. So it was just, it wasn't a continuing thing. It was just something that was said, and everybody it was said twice in 2 live streams, and basically, saying how cute she was and all that sort of stuff. But still, it made her feel uncomfortable. It made me feel uncomfortable, and that's when she decided that she wasn't getting on camera anymore. She didn't want that sort of attention and all that sort of stuff. So, and that's understandable. I can totally understand that. And that's why she is a little bit funny. And Savannah also got really funny after that as well. She doesn't like to have that sort of attention put on her and all the rest of it. So she has not made too many appearances until just recently on Brendan's videos. I think she's just been in the background, whatnot, in some of his videos. And even still, she's still very reluctant, to get on his, whereas with mine, they realize that the demographic is a lot different. And when we say, oh, your girls are adorable, we're not sexualizing them. We are just saying, oh, they're adorable, such lovely girls, because their personalities are shining through and all that sort of stuff. We're coming from it from a different place than where Brendan's subscribers, who are predominantly male. That subscriber after that got blocked and has never, as far as I know, never been on his channel since, has never made another comment to that effect or anything like that. And Brendan just looked straight down the camera and just went, dude, that's my daughter, do you mind? And then everybody in the comments just went off at this particular person. So it was nipped in the bud and it wasn't going to be tolerated, but you always get that. I remember when I first started on YouTube, and some of you probably don't know, but I had a young lass here, Beck, that was working here. She subsequently left Kingaroy and left here and whatnot, and we were doing a live stream one day, and some people from I think it was Russia, or it might have been somewhere in Europe, I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but it was over that way somewhere, got in and started in their own language, started being very derogatory and whatnot. But I had Beck there, and she did a Google Translate, and I think I did the Google Translate because I had my computer in front of me at the time. She was just monitoring questions and whatnot, and I did a quick Google Translate, and and basically gave them what for, and I haven't had any trouble since then. Like I've upped my my security settings, so like really inappropriate stuff is not put into the lives or anything like that, so that makes that super easy. I don't have to worry about that. So I haven't had that issue since, which has been really good, and knock on wood that I won't have that again. But yeah, it was very disconcerting for Neralee, and that sort of put her off, and that's why she's not wanted to. But in recent times we've been just cruising around together and all the rest of it. We've spent a lot of time just one-on-one, which has been great. It's been really good. She's not, because I've had all the other kids to look after and she's been the baby, she's not had a lot of that one-on-one time with me, and I'm glad that I've been able to get that one-on-one time with her doing the driving lessons and all that sort of stuff. And we've had some really interesting conversations, and I feel like, and even Brendan said the other day, he goes, you guys have got so much closer, and you're at where you were before she got that surly teenager years and whatnot. She really embraced it. Out of all the kids, she embraced it the most. But we've managed to get back on track and all that sort of stuff, and she's feeling a lot more comfortable getting on camera and stuff like that. So hopefully it won't limit my amount of filming going forward for vlogs and all that sort of stuff. And like they are, and because they are they're unlisted videos here on YouTube, so no one sees them unless they've got the link. So yeah, they really shouldn't be shared anyway, because they are essentially private videos. There's been, one where we've gone to the show with Mia, and we had a really good time, and we got some film of that, and Neralee's little inner child coming out, and so she's a little bit more comfortable with the Patreon videos. I don't think she would allow me to put any of these videos up on public forum as such. So yeah, so that's why that they are in the Patreon, and I really appreciate that she's stepping out of her comfort zone to do that. And it was just very unfortunate that she was at such a young age, and that terrible, like, it was uncalled for. Like, you could see that she was 12 years old. It was really uncalled for. Like, she didn't even look 12. She looked a lot younger. She's very tiny like me, so that gives the illusion that we're younger than what we are, because we're only small, and I'm talking when I was a teenager and stuff like that, not necessarily now. Like, you can see I'm a grown-ass woman, and I've got grey hair and all that sort of stuff, so that I'm getting on in years and whatnot. But yeah, like when I was younger, I used to always be mistaken for being younger than what I was, because I was tiny. It probably didn't help that I hung around a lot of tall people. But Neralee's very much the same. She's got a very young face. She's very tiny. Her hands are small. And yeah, she's very tiny in all aspects. So much so, how's this? I did not know that this is a thing, and I was quite surprised. She wanted to get her belly button pierced. That she likes that sort of stuff, the same as I do as well. And anyway, she wanted to get her belly button pierced, and she went to a proper place and all the rest of it, and she's been to 2 or 3, I think she's been to now, just to make sure that these people weren't blowing smoke up her backside, as she says. Yeah, and they said that she's anatomically, she can't have it done, because this is how tiny she is. Her belly button is not, there's not enough skin there, excess skin there, to do the piercing. So that makes it really hard to do it. And if they do it, it won't sit right or anything like that. So she can't get it done. And she's like, I'm devastated. And I'm like, well, there's not much you can do about that. That's just the way. And she went to 3 different places because she didn't believe the first one. I said, well, go and get a second opinion, because I'm not adverse to her getting a belly button pierced. She doesn't want to get facial piercings or anything like that. She just wants a belly button pierced. And I'm not adverse to that. I mean, I'd be a hypocrite if I said no, because I had my own done, and I had a nose ring, and I've got like 7 earring holes in one ear and 1 in the other. Like, yeah, I'd be a hypocrite if I said no. We draw the line at facial piercings. Her dad doesn't like it. I don't actually wear my nose ring anymore because he doesn't like piercings, which is really strange because he's covered in tattoos. But anyway, they normally go hand in hand, but he doesn't like facial piercings, and that's fine. So he's like, that's a hard line for him. And I'm like, well, we have to respect your dad's wishes. We can avoid a mirror. He cannot avoid looking at us, and it makes him, it just, I don't know, it's a trigger for him. So we've decided that no. And then every now and again, the girls are, God, they're me. Like, when I think about it, just the things that they throw out just to trigger him, because his response. And that we're in the car, and we were talking about, because Neralee was going to go and get the top of her ear pierced. Like, I've got one as well, and she's always been fascinated by that earring up the top, and she's wanted to go and get one done. And we were going off to get it done, and anyway, Savannah and her must have been conspiring before they got into the car, and we were going off to, I think we were going to Toowoomba or somewhere, and they had a friend with us. Josie was with us, and anyway, oh no, we were going to North Lakes, that's right. And anyway, Neralee turns around and goes, oh, I'm going to get a piercing today, and all that. And Dad's like, and Brendan's like, oh yeah, where are you getting it done? She goes, oh, I'm getting my eyebrow done and my lip done. And he just went quiet. And they're sitting in the back. I was watching them in the little, the little makeup mirror in your sun visor. I had opened that up and I was watching them, and they were watching me. They were grinning in the background. And then they just took it one further. And then Neralee, as quick as a whip, like, he's talking and all the rest of it. And Neralee said, I can't remember exactly what she said, and And then she turns around, she goes, "So this will be the last time we'll be talking today, Dad?" Because he's often said that if they got facial piercings, he'd never speak to them again. And I'm like, I just roll my eyes because I know my husband well enough to know that that's crap and a big plate full of it. But I think he would, like, at first be really shocked and all that sort of stuff. But then he would come around. Like, he probably would go off his dial and just like, "What are you doing? You're being a fool," and all that sort of stuff. Because as he said, there's nothing attractive about it, that having hardware in your face. And, you know, it does put people off hiring you and all that sort of stuff. And so you really shouldn't have it. I mean, as I said to him, I said, yeah, but, you know, like nose rings and stuff like that, you don't necessarily have to have the ring. You can have a little stud, and you can have them that small that you can barely see them. And you can have them, you know, like for work and stuff like that. You can actually have them without them being offensive. And he goes, "They're offensive." There's no changing his mind about it. And like he's like a walking contradiction sometimes, because like we look at him and go, "But you're covered in tattoos." And then he comes back, he goes, "Yeah, but I didn't get my arm tattoos or anything like that until I was in my late 30s before, you know, like, and I don't have," he's got one on his hand, he goes, "and that was my biggest regret," he goes, "because that stopped employment and all this sort of stuff." And I'm like, yeah, all right, I can see your logic behind it. I don't understand it, but I can see your logic behind it and all the rest of it. And it's quite weird because he's covered in tattoos. I don't actually have any tattoos, but I do like piercings and stuff like that. But I don't think I would like to go and get I like the look of them, and they can be done very tasteful. Some just look terrible. And I think that comes down to the jewelry that the person is wearing. Their skin may be a bit too acidic or stuff like that, and the jewelry goes a little bit dark. I think if you get, I don't know, I think that there's some beautiful jewelry out there that you can get, and there's some really dainty jewelry that you can get to make it look really nice. Like, I've seen girls that have had their dimples pierced and stuff like that, and they've just got these little diamantes in them. They're not offensive, they don't look out of place or anything like that. Or they've got a top lip piercing where it looks like a little beauty spot, and they've just got a little lip piercing up there. Or I don't necessarily like the ones down the bottom that are in the center of your lip, in that little crevice on your bottom lip. I don't like those, and I don't like the ones off the side where it's a ring. I think they look a little bit weird. But if they're like studs, look really dainty, I think. And I'm for some reason I just can't deal with, like, every time I look at someone with an eyebrow piercing, my eye starts to water. So I actually have a physical response from that. So that's quite funny. But yeah, other than that, I really like piercings if they're done tastefully. Like, you can get them done really nicely, I think. And yeah, but see, I've always liked them, whereas he has never. It's always been a trigger for him. But yeah, the girls every now and again stir the pot. They're cheeky, I tell you. But yeah, so basically, and as I said, it's just weird because he's covered in tattoos. Like, I wonder how he would be if they come home with like a tattoo or something like that. Would he be a bit funny about it? Like, does he have a double standard? I don't want to put that to the test, but I'm not encouraging them to go and get tattoos or anything. I know that Savannah wants to get one. She just wants to get one on her ankle, which is fine. A lot of people are surprised to learn that I don't have tattoos, mainly because Brendan is covered in them. Like, he's got one leg that's covered from the thigh down to his ankle. He's got like flames all up on one thigh, and then he's got a tribal tattoo as well down on his head. But that's covering a scar from a motorbike accident that he had. I don't know whether he's self-conscious or whether it's just that's where the tattoo ended up or whatever. That he's got a big one across his back. He's got two triquetras on his on his on the top of his pecs. And then he's got a dragon tattoo that goes, you can sometimes see it up on his neck. There's a bit of tribal stuff that comes up on his neck. And then he's got a full sleeve on one arm. And then he wants to get, I don't think he's going to get it because he can't find anybody to draw it for him, and he's not a great drawer. He wants to get what looks like a robotic arm, but like with sprockets and all that sort of stuff done on the other one. And yeah, like people tell me that it's really addictive once you get one tattoo and all this sort of stuff, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not into that. Thanks. I love tattoos. I was going to get a tattoo when I was younger, but then I thought about it, and I thought, you know what, if I have children, if, you know, I put on weight and then lose weight, it distorts them and stuff like that. So I just thought about it a little bit further, and I thought, you know what, I will just wait until I've had kids and all that sort of stuff, and then I just decided that I didn't want to get them. So yeah, now I'm usually the odd one out, because everybody I know has got tattoos and stuff like that, or, you know, they've at least got one, and I have none. So yeah, that's where we're at on that. I'm really big on jewelry and stuff like that. I like to wear that sort of, like, where I can change it out and it's not a permanent fixture, so to speak. So yeah, that's sort of where I'm at on that sort of stuff. But yeah, that was an interesting trajectory of the conversation. But I often wonder if Brennan and I are going to just back to the travel and stuff like that, if we're going to do any sort of travel, because like he likes driving to just driving, but he doesn't like to necessarily have a destination as such. So whereas I like to go to the destination. We're oddballs. I don't even know how we've lasted this long. We're so opposite, but we're comfortable. Like it's good because we're happy. Like he's happy to just drive me there, and then he'll go off and do his thing, and then I'll go off and do my thing, and yeah, it just works. We work it. That's all that matters, right? And I'm sure that there are lots of couples out there that are exactly the same. But yeah, I often wonder, like, if we're going to do any travel, or will we go our separate ways? Like, yeah. And Savannah and I were planning on going to Europe when she finished school, but obviously with COVID and all that sort of stuff, and the airfares getting a lot dearer and not being available or cancelling at the last minute and stuff like that, we just decided not to take that risk. We'll just wait until she's finished uni, or we might do it during uni or something like that, over Christmas break or something. And yeah, Brennan goes, oh yeah, we'll come. And we just went, yeah, all right, you can fly with us, but when we get to our destination, you go and do what you do. We're going to go and do what we do. But that was, I think, when we were going to Japan, because he wasn't going to come to Europe, because that was just going to be a mother-daughter thing. So yeah, so that was just going to be me and Savannah doing that. And then Nerily wants to go to England to live, apparently. So that's going to be interesting. Yeah. I did ask her how she was going to live over there. Because she goes, I'm going to move to England. I'm like, okay, how are you going to do that? What's the game plan? What are you going to do to survive? What job are you going to do? Are you going to get employment before you go? What's the plan? Oh, I haven't thought of that much through. I'm like, okay then. All right. Nothing like just flying by the seat of your pants. You definitely take after your father in that aspect, because he did exactly the same thing. It was just before we got together, because we got together just after he came back from Europe. But he and it was quite funny, because when we lived on the Gold Coast, we had a friend that was a travel agent, and he met her through doing this particular thing. One day he decided he was going to Europe, and I think I've told this story before, but he actually didn't know where Europe was, and he went and bought a one-way ticket. He was going to live in Europe, and yeah, didn't exactly understand where Europe was and all that sort of stuff, and that was back in 2001. This was back then. And so yeah, Sam was saying that he walked into the travel agent, no shoes on, which is really unusual. I think he'd been at the beach or something. So he'd walked in his board shorts and no shoes on, no shirt on, asked for a one-way ticket to Europe, and bought a ticket. And then went to Europe and had no idea where he was going. He was yeah, he used to drink a lot back then as well. So he was on the party tour of Europe, I guess. But yeah, he ended up landing in Heathrow, and from there he just started traveling around. I think he spent a couple of days in England, and then he ended up going over to France and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, he travelled around and didn't know what he was doing, didn't have any sort of game plan. Ended up being down in Spain in Benidorm, and doing some DJ work down there and stuff like that. And if anybody knows my husband, DJ, he is not. But anyway, he was down there, and he had a good time and all the rest of it. But he only lasted, I think it was 6 or 7 weeks, and then he come home. He realised how good it was here. And then he come back home, and that's when we started seeing each other. And yeah, he went over with long hair, a goatee, and all the rest of it. And when he came back, he decided. I seen him about 2 weeks after he was back, and I had to do a double take because I'd always seen him with long hair and a goatee and looking very much living the bogan life, as they say. And yeah, and anyway, I'd known of it, like I'd talked to him and known of him for quite a long time. And then he walked past. I was going to my best friend's place, who at the time was going out with one of his really good friends. And I got out of the car and I'm walking across, and he's gone, "Hey," and I've gone, "Hey." And that's a greeting here in Australia for those that don't know. And it says like, "Hey, hey." And then I kept walking, and then I stopped at her gate, and I thought, was that Red? Because I didn't know he had a first name, because he's always been called Red. And at that stage, I only knew him as Red. I didn't know him as Brendan. And I'm like, was that Red? No, he's not hairy enough. And I walked in, and I've looked at Megan and's gone, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Was that Red that just walked out of here?" She goes, "Yeah." And I'm like, "The guy with short hair and no goatee, that was Red." And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Anyway, she goes, I said, "Wasn't he in Europe?" And she goes, because, everybody knew he was going to Europe. And she goes, "Yeah, he's back." And I'm like, "Okay." Anyway, didn't think anything of it. And then a couple of weeks later, I was at Megan's place again, and he was there. And I was talking to him and all that sort of stuff. And then I went off, and then we were at a birthday party, and he was our first birthday party, Megan's son's first birthday party, and I was there with Dharma Jane, and yeah, and he was very hungover and all the rest of it, and he was just trying to convince me that he was a good lad now and all this sort of stuff. And because I asked him, what was behind taking all the hair off, like, because when I say he took his hair, like, gone, it was down halfway down his back, and it's the same colour as Savannah's hair, and it was very, very curly, and it was gone. Like, so he looked very hairy, and it was like short back and sides, and now he just shaves it, and so he's bald because he's got a really bad receding hairline and whatnot. And so, yeah, so it was quite a shock, and I'm like, and I actually said to him, I said, "I must say, it looks a lot better." And I said, "I'm sorry. I thought your hair was great and all, but yeah, no, you're looking a little bit like a ruffian." I said, "You look a little bit more respectable now. So telling me that you're a good lad, you could probably pull it off." Anyway, he tried to convince me that he was, a good boy and all this sort of stuff, and I just kept laughing at him, going, "Yeah, I don't know who you think you're talking to, but anyway." And he was trying to drink less. He was trying to, move forward, and he said going to Europe, that was the catalyst for him to get his stuff together, because at this stage he was only 24, I think. He'd earlier on, like, he'd always held down a job and all that sort of stuff, but he wanted to get into something different. He didn't want to do manual labour. He didn't want to do boiler making anymore. So he was going into real estate and all the rest of it. So cutting his hair off sort of made sense. Trying to look respectable and all that sort of stuff. And at that stage, he didn't have arm tattoos or anything like that. And he has one tattoo on his hand, which he could cover with a Band-Aid at any stage. So he was trying to, he'd partied on for quite a number of years and stuff like that, and he was getting to that point where he wanted to stop. He wanted to change careers. He'd always done boiler making, which like welding and stuff like that. So he was, he'd always worked, and at this stage he had already bought his first unit, and he'd done that on vendor finance. And basically, when I met him, he goes, I ate to get the deposit and all the rest of it. He goes, he ate cheese, Vegemite, and Sayo biscuits every day for 18 months. At work, so he didn't have to so he didn't spend any money, so he just stopped spending money altogether, only bought the bare essentials, and that was what he ate for lunch